All right, Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. Welcome to our class. I usually say to our Wednesday class that it's Tuesday, so a little bit change up in the timing. Thank you for adjusting to the changes since we are flying into New York Bezat Hashem tomorrow. So we are in the final stages of volume 6 of the book called Yalkut Yosef, the former chief rabbi of Israel, the son of Abu Vadia, and we are up to the topics of Kedushat Bet HaKnesset. As I told you right after Pesach, hopefully we're going to start a new topic. Seuda, Netilat Yadayim, Hamotzi, what type of water can we use for Netilah, what kind of Natlan, how do we wash, what happens if something happens during the meal, a lot of halachot that are practical for every day. So until then, we're going to finish this. We're going to have our little test, Bezat Hashem, hopefully next week. Let's see if we're able to finish the material today. And after that, we will get into the halachot of Netilat Yadayim. All right, so regarding the Kedusha of Bet HaKnesset, we finished the halachot of a Sefer Torah and the Kedusha of a Sefer Torah. Now we move to the Kedusha of a Bet Knesset. And last time we were saying how you should not kiss your little children in a Bet Knesset because you have to show in your heart that the love is for Hashem. However, we differentiated by saying that when you kiss somebody that is not for love but for honor, there's more room to be lenient, even though if you are able to avoid that, it's better. But there's an understanding of honor as opposed to kissing somebody out of love, which is a different situation, and that we should avoid. Samen, Baruch haba. Thank you for coming. Let this class be Leilun Ishmat, your grandma. What's your Hebrew name?
Tamar Bat Yosef.
Tamar Bat Yosef, Baruch Hashem, Tenicha Began Eden Bezat Hashem, as well as Yuda Ben Yafa, Chana Bat Avraham, Johnny, Baruch haba, Shalom Aleichem. All right, so
Shalom
next.
Aleichem. Thank you.
So our next halacha is regarding the Kedusha of a Bet Knesset, of a synagogue. And the next halacha says that if you are praying in a synagogue, or even learning, but an old man walks in and passes by you within your 4 amot, let's say 6 to 7 feet, you have to stand up for him. Even though you may say, I'm doing something important, I'm learning, or I'm praying, says the Yalkut Yosef, anytime as a ken, an old man, there's a machloket what is considered an old man. According to the Peshat, it's from 70 years old. According to the Sod, even from the age of 60. Today, 60 may seem very young to us. Even 70 seems young to us. But the pasuk, v'hadarta penei zaken, we have to honor the elders. Halakha says it's from 70 years old. According to all the opinions, some say even from the age of 60. So you stand up before somebody. So even if you're learning, they pass by, you should stand up in their honor. Now, there's certain reasons why we would not be allowed to walk into the Bet Knesset, because the halakha says that the only reason why you walk into the Bet Knesset is for doing a mitzvah. You're coming to hear shi'ur, you're coming to pray. But soon we'll see that there's situations where people come into a Bet Knesset and not for a mitzvah. So he's giving us a master key. He says if you're walking to a Bet Knesset for a different reason, soon we'll see why, then at least read a few psukim, read a pasuk, read something holy so that you walk into the Bet Knesset not for something technical, not for, I don't know, because it's a shortcut, like we're going to see in the next halakha. The next halakha says, if it is raining outside, our Bet Knesset in New York, usually it's a big building that when you walk in, you're not where the Heichal is, you're not where the Aron Kodesh is. You have a foyer, you have an entrance, and you have a pathway, and a bathroom. But some Beit Knesset, you walk into the door, you're in Bet Knesset. So in that type of building, if it's raining outside, said Yalkut Yosef, you're not allowed to walk into the Bet Knesset because it's raining. He differentiates by saying, if you're learning outside, and now that the rain is bothering you, you can't learn, and you're going inside to learn, okay, you'll be allowed to. At the end of the day, you're doing a mitzvah. But if you're just trying to avoid the rain, it's not a mitzvah, so don't go into the Bet Knesset, you're not allowed to. Another case that he brings, making a shortcut. Listen, I know that if I don't cut through the synagogue, I enter from here and I leave there, I have to go all the way around the block. Let me make a shortcut, I'll go through the Bet Knesset. Asu, 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 as Rabbi Ben Chaim says. Walking to the Bet Knesset for a mitzvah. However, if you are walking in for a secular reason, at least he says, read a pasuk, say something, shir lamalot, something that you know by heart, something that's easy for you, but at least you're covered in that sense. You walk in to call your friend. You walk in because you forgot your coffee. Don't just walk in like a stranger, do the secular thing that you need to do and walk back out. Anytime you step in, and do some sort of Tehillim, pasuk. There's a very short, anybody know what the shortest chapter of Tehillim is? We read it in Hallel, every Rosh Chodesh. Hallelujah Adonai kol goyim.
Yes, number one, 1
116, 150 verses. I just read it this week. That's why I remember.
It's very short. הללו את אדוני כל גויים, שבחו כל האומים, כי גבר עלינו חסדו, באמת אדוני לעולם, hallelujah. That took like nothing. That's the shortest chapter. So you walked in, you said that, you covered. You said a full page Tehillim, and you're all set. But it even says, even if you just read a pasuk, it's fine. But our custom is to say if you can. All right. So we spoke about shortcuts. We spoke about rain. He also says here, and this may be challenging for us, you're not supposed to have secular speeches in Bet Knesset. All right? Now, that I think is obvious in many Bet Knesset in Israel, but in America, I've seen it happen a lot where you do have secular people that are coming, talking about elections, talking about business for the community. Over there, the situation may be different because the community lives through the Bet Knesset. It's not just a place where people to come to pray and to learn, but it's a center where the community gathers, and I guess there's need to have that to stay together. So if our Rabbanim in our community are allowing it, obviously there's reasoning for that. But the dry halacha is that there's no secular speaking in a Bet Knesset. You don't give a speech about math inside the Bet Knesset where the Aron Kodesh is. I'm not talking about the building. I'm talking about the actual place where people pray. Says Yalkut Yosef, unless there's a spiritual chizuk, something that strengthens you spiritually by being in that speech, even if it's secular, but it does something to your heart, it brings you closer. A lot of the times when you want to bring people closer to religion, you don't give them a speech about Torah, they're not going to come. So you give them a speech about something juicy, but in the middle, you find a way to touch their heart and connect it to Hashem. That's also okay, because the purpose is to do something good. Now, what happens, and this happens in a lot of office buildings, where a guy decides to put a Bet Knesset in his building, and above him, people either live or they have an office. So what are the restrictions? What you should know, by the way, the Gemara says that it's best that the Bet Knesset should always be the highest building in the city. But the Chachamim explain that today it's very hard because the population is growing so much, and you have to have tall buildings. You can't expect all the buildings to be on the penthouse of a 40-story building, right? So they say we should take it in the spiritual way, which means let the Bet Knesset be in the highest place in your heart. This is the most important for me. This is the highest. This is where I long to. It doesn't have to physically be high. So you have an office building on the second floor. A guy puts a Bet Knesset, he puts an Aron Kodesh. Are there any restrictions to the people above the Bet Knesset, floor above? Anybody know the answer? So the only restriction is regarding where the Aron Kodesh is. If let's say the Aron Kodesh is at a certain corner, the floor above that, and just the floor above that, he says it doesn't have to be all the way up, just the floor above that, you are not allowed to do shimush gnai, something that's disrespectful. For example, a bathroom, right? Don't put a bathroom on top of the Aron Kodesh. So you have to be calculated. That's why a lot of buildings, when they build them and they build them as a Bet Knesset, sometimes the Aron Kodesh stands out of the building. It's like a box that stands out so that part, nothing can be above it. From the second floor and above, it's all regular. I've seen that a lot. But even if it is there, as long as there's no shimush ignai, a use that is disrespectful for the Aron Kodesh, then you would be allowed to put it there. That's only the direct floor above. Other floors in the building, even under the Aron Kodesh, that would be not a problem. All right, those were the halachot of Bet Knesset. And from now, we are going to the halachot of how to conduct yourself in the kotel. Same family, this is how the Shulchan Aruch brings down the halachot. But how is a person supposed to conduct himself in the kotel? It says the Yalkut Yosef, since this is a holy place, and it's even a mitzvah, it says to kiss the stones when you reach the kotel. Just go there. Kiss the stones. It's a holy wall. This wall is standing there for thousands of years, right? So what do you have to do? A man has to cover his head, and the women as well. The Katchila says, to begin with. If she's not married, still it's better for a woman, generally, women that even when they're not married, if they cover their hair when they say Baruch in prayer, that's, it's hard to ask that. But he says the Katchila, that's the way to do it. Same thing in the Kotel. Even if she's not married, if she can cover her hair, it's better. And of course, bigadim tzinuim, clothing that are tsanua, nothing too flashy, too in people's face. We're in a very holy place. That's the feeling that we have in the kotel. Now, what happens if you have an event in the kotel, like we have many times, we have a bar mitzvah, all right? So he says, you are not allowed to go to the holy wall just for pictures. No prayer, no tehillim. No, we're just walking in, a little bit like the Bet Knesset. You can't walk in for a secular reason. You're coming there to take pictures, okay, but also read a chapter of tehillim. You're standing in a place that has thousands of years of history. This wall that Hashem promises is never going to fall down is standing before you. You're not going to do something holy, something spiritual with it. You can't just come and take pictures and leave. You're coming there, make sure that you have something holy in that situation. Also, he says, in the hall that is right by the wall, it is better not to bring food. You want to eat the food, it's better, he says, that you eat it once you go outside of the central area of the kotel. But over there, it's like a Bet Knesset. By the way, same thing with a Bet Knesset. It's not simple to eat a meal in the Bet Knesset. Also, in terms and way to do it, not getting into that right now, but either way, the halacha is that in the kotel, we should try to avoid doing secular things, eating, do it outside. All right. Next halacha, regarding breaking down a shul. We touched this a little bit last time, but even for things that you're going to be very surprised, there are rules. For example, someone wants to put a sign that says, donated by this and this family. So in order to put that sign up in the Bet Knesset, you have to drill a hole in the wall, put a screw, and then put that in. By putting a screw through the wall, you are a little bit, but even so, a little bit, destroying the Bet Knesset. This is a wall of a Bet Knesset, and now you're making a hole in it. Is it mutar? Are you allowed to? Are you not allowed to? So says Yalkut Yosef, those that do it, they have what to rely on. Today they have other technologies. You can also glue it. Even if you're going to make a hole, if it's for a sign, it's not. You're not putting it up for Modim Anachnu Lach or for Berich Shemeh. You're putting in for a name. Is that mutar? It says there's something to rely on. There's logic behind it because this motivates people to keep maintaining the Bet Knesset and give tzedakah. They see that other people give, they want to give as well. There's positivity in this. So there's reason to what to rely on to do that. Now what happens, he says, if you want to break down a wall, the Bet Knesset, let's say, ends here, and you say, no, we want to extend it until here. So we're going to break down this wall, and we're going to add a wall over here. Are you allowed to do that or not? What's the problem? I'm breaking down a wall of a shul. The answer is, let's see if someone remembers. We had a similar situation last year. Are you allowed to break down that wall? And if so, what would be the order? How do you do it? No, okay. So last week we learned that if the city has a Bet Knesset and you want to break it down to build a new one, we learned that you don't break it down until you build a new one, so that there won't come a situation where chas v'chalilah at the end, you don't end up building it and people don't have where to pray. So same thing with this wall, he says. You want to break down a wall and build a wall further away? First build a wall that's further away, and then break down that wall. But if you break down this wall and you end up not building that one, people are stuck. So always first make sure that your Bet Knesset will never be stuck, build a new wall, and then break down the old one. It says it's preferred to do it that way. Meaning I'm sure there are loopholes. At the end of the day, we want to do good for the Bet Knesset, and if there's financial ability, then it'll be okay. But there's a right way to do stuff, and that's the right way. Now, am I allowed to extend the Bet Knesset into an area that used to be a bathroom? There's a toilet here. I want to break down this bathroom, move my Bet Knesset greater here. Now the inside the Bet Knesset will be where used to be a toilet. It says that, Yalkut Yosef, it's allowed. Don't be bothered by the toilet because you are removing it completely from the ground, even though it used to be there. I don't think the tum'ah stays there. Once you remove the toilet and the plumbing, whatever it is, the tum'ah is gone now, and therefore that won't be a problem. Can I break down the wall because I want to put a window in Bet Knesset? Again, we may think, what's the question? The window is to benefit us. This is a wall of a Bet Knesset. It's not so simple. Give the perspective. It's not so simple to break down a wall of a Bet Knesset. Says the Yalkut Yosef, you're allowed to do that because at the end of the day, it's for us. It's for the Mitparelim. But he says it's not in the honor of the Bet Knesset that you break it down and you leave it like that for a few days until the guy comes. Make sure that it's done one right after the other, so that it's more honorable. It's not nice for a shul to be closed down for construction. No, we break, we fix on the spot. Baruch Hashem, in our community, that always happens. You don't close up a Knesset generally. Baruch Hashem. All right. Another halacha regarding a donation. Someone gave a donation to the Bet Knesset. He says, I'm giving this to the Bet Knesset or to the mikveh. Am I, as the Gabbai that collected the money, I say, you know what? He means the Bet Knesset, but Baruch Hashem, the Bet Knesset is good and the mikveh is good, but there's a poor family over there that needs it more. I'm the Gabbai, I'll give it to the Anim. Are you allowed to or not? So he says, you're not allowed to change the destiny of the mitzvah. It's designated to somewhere, right? It's meant for somewhere. Even though you think this is more important, they'll need it more. A mitzvah is sent a certain direction, it has to go to that direction. Now, this is a story, Simon, I think you touched it last time. You were asking about a Bet Knesset that is empty, right? Like he gives an example that there were Bet Knesset in Egypt that were empty. There's no one living there anymore. Can we sell them? Can we not sell them? He says it's a mitzvah to sell them and to use the money to build a new Bet Knesset where there are Jews. Oh, it's a Bet Knesset, the Goyim are going to take over. Yeah, but it's okay. I'm taking the money for a Bet Knesset somewhere else, and that would be allowed. Now, again, regarding the toilet, the bathroom, he says if, let's say, this is our Bet Knesset, and we have a wall over here, and now what we want to do is we want to extend, let's see how he writes it over here. And now, if this is our shul, and on the wall of the shul where it ends, on the other side, I want to put a bathroom, he says, don't do that. Have a pathway, have something, and then have another wall, and the bathroom let be over there. But don't let the wall of the bathroom be the same wall that on the other side, it's a wall of a Bet Knesset. And it's a holy place, you have to have a separation. You have a gap in there. And he says, even if you put it far, make sure it's not close enough to bring a smell into the Bet Knesset. It's a holy place. You have to make sure no bad smell is coming. Aron Kodesh. Are we allowed to lift the Aron Kodesh and move it from one area to the other area because we need it somewhere else? Answer is, you can move it when there are no books in it. But if the Sefer Torah is inside Aron HaKodesh, you don't just lift it all up and move it. You take out the Sefarim, and you move the Aron, and then you take the Sefarim. All right. Next halachot is halachot of Tashmishei Kedusha. What is Tashmishei Kedusha? For example, Tefillin, Mezuzah. These are holy items. They have Hashem's name in them. They have parchment in them. These are Tashmishei Kedusha. So he says, are we allowed to put an alarm inside the Aron Kodesh? Because we don't want people to steal Sifrei Torah. I don't know if this happens commonly in New York, but in Israel, years ago, I remember there was a thing where the people would come in the middle of the night, they would steal the Sefer Torah, and then they would sell it half price somewhere else. Obviously, they were goyim, but the Jews wanted to save it, so they would buy it back. And, right? So we want to put an alarm system in the Aron Kodesh, but the alarm is not holy. What are you doing? What are you putting a secular thing inside the Aron Kodesh? It says, of course, it's allowed because it's done to protect the Sefer Torah. Since it's done for the Sefer Torah, then it would be allowed. And that's usually the logic. We'll see it a lot. When something is done for the holy thing, it will be allowed. Can I put my talit or my tefillin in the Aron Kodesh? The Aron Kodesh, I don't have a place to put it. You know what? Let me go. I'll open the door of the Aron Kodesh. I'll put it there. So tomorrow morning I come, I take it. He says some allow that, but he says if you are going to do it, it's better that don't put it on the same surface where the Sifrei Torah are standing. Right? You have a closet under the Sefer Torah, put it there, or above or on the side. But on the same platform where the Sifrei Torah are standing to put a talit or to put a tefillin, even though it's also very holy, it's not as holy as the Sefer Torah, better not to do it that way. Now, what happens if we have an Aron Kodesh that is old, and now we want to sell it because we bought a new one? So we have a new one, we want to sell the old one. Are we allowed to? It says you're allowed to sell it to the secular things. I could sell it to a carpenter and he's going to build someone a closet for their room. But this used to be in Aron Kodesh. It says it's allowed because when I sold it, I took the money and now the money has the Kedusha of the Aron. And this money is going towards something holy again, right? It's going to go for Kedusha, for either another Aron Kodesh, Sefer Torah, something, holy and worthy. Therefore, don't think that once this Torah was in there, then it's holy forever. If you take it out, you're allowed to sell it. This is surprising. You're allowed to sell it to something secular, but you use the money that came into the mitzvah. Also says it's important, worthy not to lean on Aron Kodesh. You're standing, it's a lot of people there, it's tight. You want to lean on something. You don't lean on the Aron Kodesh. It says, but in Shabbat Chak, when there are so many people and it's tight, then you would be allowed to do that. There's no pega. Now, the parochet is the curtain where we open the Aron Kodesh. So the parochet, we should know, is mandatory, especially for us as Faradim, but the parochet, we have to have it. I got to say, listen, I don't want a parochet, I don't want a curtain. The Aron is so beautiful, such beautiful woodwork and marble. Why cover it with a parochet? He's wrong. Doesn't matter how beautiful it is. Allah, the parochet is required. You have to have the parochet over there. Regarding lions on the parochet, I'm sure you've seen this before, where a person donates a parochet and there are lions on it. So this may seem like a figure, maybe avodah zarah, animals in the Bet Knesset. The Halacha is not so excited about that. It says that we should let people know that when they donate, they shouldn't donate stuff like that. And also, when they donate, you ever seen the old Bet Knesset I've seen as lion, like gold lions on top of the Aron Kodesh? It's not such a Jewish thing to do, he says. No, should let people know that that's not right. He's not saying he's forbid it. He's saying let people know that this is the wrong thing to do.
Ziv, sorry, does it matter if the parochet is before the doors or after you open the doors?
He doesn't talk about that, and from what I know, yes, the idea is that the parochet is an outside cover to the Aron. It's a curtain to lean you in. So even if you do have one inside, and I've seen that before, you should also have one on the outside, because on the outside there should be a parochet covering the Aron. That's what I remember. Again, he's not talking about it here, but from what I remember, yeah, because that's why he brings the halacha that even if the closet is nicer than the actual parochet, doesn't mean you're allowed to move the parochet, because the parochet has to be on the outside. So that's my understanding from the between the lines. Why you have a situation where it's inside and not outside?
I'm just thinking that like Or Esther in the main kanisa, I think it's like the doors and then there's the curtain inside. There's no curtain outside.
But after the curtain inside, is there another door or some sort of gate that opens?
No. Simon, am I wrong?
Yeah, over there's a crazy echad when
I don't remember what's in the Aron at 130.
homework. Let's ask. It's a good question.
But you're saying it's better. I know in like the main kanisa at 54, they have the parochet, and then you open that, and then it's the doors, and then it's the Sefer Torah.
Right.
And you're saying that's the proper way how it should be.
That's how B'tei Knesset are. Yeah, that's the proper way to do it. I was even once in a shul where it was in the beginning. It was in Givat Shmuel on Shabbat, and in the Sudah Shishit, the rabbi was saying, by the way, one of the first things we need to do is to make sure we're adding a parochet, even though this Aron is beautiful, the parochet has to be on the outside of it. So I've heard it many times, but I'm curious about Or Esther because we have our rabbis there.
But also in Shara Chamim, I don't think downstairs we have parochet in the Aron. There is few minyanim downstairs, in the middle, downstairs. I don't think we have it. I have to check tomorrow morning.
We have Ziv, now we have some homework to do. We have to find out
if it's mandatory,
and we'll report back.
I'm joining in the homework with you. B'ezrat Hashem, we're flying in tomorrow, so hopefully we'll go, we'll see, and we'll also
wow.
B'ezrat Hashem. Very good. Okay. Now, if there is a nylon that is covering a holy book, for example, I have a book, this is Sefer Shmuel, and I'm covering it with a nylon. Now, I want to throw away the nylon. Am I allowed to, or does the nylon get a Kedusha? He says, no, it's not considered a Tashmish Kedusha. It's not there for use of the holy book. It's still secular. You would be allowed to throw that away, right? If someone is contagiously sick, lo alenu, he says, and he wants to put on tefillin, but we know that his illness is so bad, but this is an interesting case, that if he puts on these tefillin, no one will ever be allowed to put them again, and we'll have to burn them. Are we allowed to give him tefillin knowing that these tefillin are going to get burnt because he's putting them on at his sick time right now? Says the Yalkut Yosef, there's a machloket in this, but those that allow, they allow, because if you won't allow him to put in tefillin, he will come into danger. A person that his whole life is putting on tefillin, it's very difficult to tell him, he's sick, don't put on tefillin right now. Or something could happen to him from that. But that would be a reasoning why to allow him. He says, like, if you do end up doing that, make sure that when it's burned, not a Jew is going to burn this tefillin, give it to a goy to burn the tefillin. All right. Are we allowed to put a book on top of a book? Let's say I want a book to be high, so I could have it in an angle, and underneath it I have a holy book. He says you're not allowed to bring a book, especially to put it under so that you could lean the other book on it. But if it was already there, then I'm leaning on it right now. It's fine. I could put my book on it, but not to bring it. It's so disrespect the other book. Right? So these are halachot of the Kedusha, the book of the Kedusha. What about changing a church into a kanisa? Would that be allowed? Yesterday there was a big cross over there.
It's a mitzvah.
And now, so you're saying it's a mitzvah. So he says that dafka the achronim, the later rabbis agreed that is not right to do that. He says if you want to do it for a one-time thing, then it's okay. Right?
Wait, I think you're allowed, because usually churches, under the churches there is dead bodies. They put there's a lot of
So he's saying that it's not right to change a church into a bet knesset, at least not in a kavua matter. It could be, let's say, for a while until you build your bet knesset, you want to be there. He says, okay, but don't make your bet knesset kavua on top of a place that used to have avodah zarah, on top of a place that used to be a church. He says it doesn't mean that we don't have a mitzvah to destroy avodah zarah, but I guess where it used to be, it's not the right place to put a bet knesset. We have 2 minutes and we have a couple more halachot, and I think it's worth it to finish it so that next week we could do our test, and after Pesach we could do it after that. So let's try to push these in. You're allowed to run to shul, but you are not allowed to run on the way out of shul. All right, run to there, not on the way out. It says it's better to walk to shul. Why? There's something called sechal psiot. Every step that I take to a knesset, I get reward. I made an effort to go to a mitzvah. And therefore, he says it's better you park your car if you're driving to shul, park it right on the entrance. Park it, a few cars down. So you have a few. I know Rabbi Shuv once said that Rav Gad Livian told us that Rabbi Shuv knows that he does that to get the extra few steps so that he has sechal psiot, reward for walking to Bet Knesset. Regarding pat shacharit is eating bread in the morning. Says the Yalkut Yosef, the Gemara teaches us that it saves us from many illnesses. 83 illnesses you get saved by doing a bracha on wheat or barley in the morning. I'm saying the mizanot, something you have to have a motzi, but it's recommended, he says, to start your day like that. He also says it's recommended to start your morning with a learning that is steady. Steady means that even if you have a very good deal, you're going to skip that deal because this is kavua. Even if it's a few minutes, but don't give up. Try to have something steady every morning, he says. Try to learn 2 halachot every morning. And the last topic we have is masau matan, business. So he says every person has a chova, an obligation to be mishtadel, to attempt, to try to make money. But with that, he says, make sure that you understand that even though you're trying, the parnasah is not coming because you're trying. The parnasah is coming from Hashem. Only I have the obligation to try, but it's all from Hashem. Don't lose the right path on the way, he says. Is a person allowed to insure himself? If I believe in Hashem, why do I have to get car insurance? Why do I have to get home insurance? Whatever Hashem wants is for the best for me. Says the Yalkut Yosef, don't be crazy. It doesn't mean that you have a lack of emunah by doing insurance. You are allowed to do it. Just do it according to halacha. Meaning, I guess there are certain criteria that need to be discussed. So ask the chacham, but of course you're allowed to have insurance. And regarding swearing, this is the last thing we have here. Do not swear. It says, even if it's 100% true, try to avoid swearing. Swearing in your business is not a recommendation. This is the end. This is where the halachot of volume 6 of Yalkut Yosef ends. We're going to have Be'ezrat Hashem being a test. I'll talk to you on when we're going to do it. I'm going to send you already the questions and answers. And after Pesach, we're going to begin a new topic, Seudah, Netilat Yadayim, Motzi. It's very recommended that if someone you think has potential of joining us, it's a good opportunity to get them involved in the halachot of sitting down on the table and breaking bread. Until then, gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Be'ezrat Hashem. Hopefully face to face. If not, then over here on this one. All the best. Thank you, brother.
Zag Baruch. Have a safe flight, Ziv.
Thank you.